homesteading to prepping to common horse sense, we are College Hill Farm. Welcome back to College Hill Farm. Well, here we are in the shop. It's rained here the last 3 days, so there isn't a whole lot going on the homestead when it's raining, except the garden's growing. I still haven't put the peppers in the ground. It's been over a week. Of course, they needed to grow a little longer. So this is kind of a little update as to where we are. And it's also an update about something that we plan to do. Hopefully, in this next few days, I'm going to be able to get out and plow and do some things. But I watched Living Traditions Homestead. Now, I love their little channel. Of course, it's not a little channel. They're probably a good-sized channel. But I like to watch them. They do something with... I've always had a problem with bending over and weeding in watermelons and cantaloupe and cucumbers. I'm always getting down on my knees because my back's bad. Well, when I get down on my knees, I have to get the tractor over there close to where I'm going to be so I can help myself get back up because my back is so messed up. So, I have to do things in my own way. Well, they use something, a landscape fabric. It's a 3 or 4 mil, like a tarpaulin type stuff. And they cut holes in it and plant through it for things like squash. They use it for basically everything. That's nothing that I would be interested in doing it for everything. I sure would be interested in doing it for my mushmelons and cantaloupe and cucumbers and all the vining stuff that it's so hard to weed around. As a matter of fact, I might even put some strawberries in, but I doubt it because you have to get down. I'd have to get down on the ground to pick them. Of course, I'll have to get down on the ground to pick the cucumbers too, but that's a different subject altogether. You pick 4 or 5 cucumbers and that's dinner for the next 2 days. You pick 4 or 5 strawberries and you don't have nothing. I'd eat them all before I got back to the house. So you have to be down on the ground for a long time to pick strawberries. I made some raised beds for strawberries once, but they didn't do good. But maybe if I put that landscape fabric on the raised bed, that might be the ticket. So, but to put down landscape fabric, there are these big old pins. Okay, let me put something behind it so you can see that a little better. Okay, there's these big metal pins. And you push those through the fabric and down into the ground. And that's what holds your fabric, landscape fabric down. Well, I've got a bunch of pins. But in order to do this, I'd have to be down on my knees. Hands and knees to put these in. Well, you know me, that can't be a thing. So, because I'd have to have my tractor over there by it, and you can't drive a tractor on this landscape fabric, and there I'd be. So, I am going to take and make something to push these pins in so that I don't have to get down on the ground to do it. Now, somebody told me, they said, well, you can get a pair of long-handled pliers, like vice grips, long-handled vice grips, but you still have to be all humped over to do that. That's not going to be me. I can't do that. I just can't. It's not something that I can do. So, here's my thought. Let me bring you over and I'll tell you what I'm thinking. Now, what I've got here is an old piece of scrap wood and a piece of a 1/4 inch thick plywood. Now what I thought I might do, and it looks like the 1/4 inch thick plywood will be just fine to be the thickness that these pins ride on. So what I'm thinking about doing is making it such, making a cap over this that'll sit like that over with the plywood under it in order to make just put another piece of wood over top, and that would make it where my pin would be in there and I could push it down in the ground. Maybe it needs to be this farther out, but you see the dilemma there. The pins will want to fall out when I put it over. So what I thought I might do, I always keep some of these old magnetic blocks. I've used them for everything in the world, everything from a pickup tool. I made a pickup tool out of them by putting them end to end, something that I could just roll around the shop floor and pick up washers and nuts and all that kind of stuff. I've made that kind of stuff out of them. But I always keep a package or two. I've got another package, and when I use them both, I'll buy another package. But anyway, what I thought was I might cut this out and embed that into the block of wood, so when I stick these back here, they'll hold just fine. I can push them into the dirt, then just pull this back up and it ought to come out with it. And I want to make it where it just touches, not where it's going to be far back, just back like that, so that it just makes this come in there and holds it. Okay, so that way if I wanted to, I could slide this to the side and make it release easier without pulling these out. Okay, there's a whole bunch of things that has to go with that. So let's get started at embedding this down into this block of wood. I'm going to do this the old-fashioned way. this is exactly the same height as this piece of plywood. So now what I want to do is I want to take this piece of plywood and set it here on one edge and cut it out back to here. And then back to there. I'll take it over and put it on the bandsaw and cut that out. There it is. Now I can set it in here like this and put another board over top. Knocked down real good, it came out. So it needs to go down like that. And this goes over it. This goes on top of it. Like that. And it looks like it's going to hold good. And then I need to cut this off, say about here. I think I'll go a little farther. I think I'll go back to there. So I'm going to go over here to the radial arm saw and make a quick cut. Again, this is all improvised. It's nothing set in stone. Now, does that fit back in there all right? Yes, and sets on the thing. Okay. Now, I'll go ahead and cut those off. Okay, I don't know what happened to the camera while I was over at the radial arm saw. I think it decided it was just tired and shut off. So, right here is what I've got. I've got this one that I carved out. Then I made a piece of plywood that would sit here. Now the plywood sticks down a little further than this, and that's hunky-dory with me, but I want the plywood to come all the way up to the back of this so that it sets on it good and solid. Then this piece of plywood will go right there. And the purpose of it is to keep this from moving. But I want it to be back far enough that it will let the pin slide out. So then I've got a cap to put on it. See, put it on there the right way. Got a cap to put on it. And now we'll screw this down and see how it works. Now I picked screws that would only go that far. That way I'm not all the time getting caught on a screw. But since this is just pine, there's a problem with pine, and that's that it likes to split. So what I'll do is I'll take and drill a couple of holes in that pine, and now I'll put these in. Okay, it's not all the way down. See what I'm looking at there? See, I see light in there. So it's got to be all the way down where both pieces of wood are all the way down. So okay, that did it. So now I'll put in the other screw. Make sure this is all still lined up. Okay, solid there. Now let's put in 2 screws on this side. One there. One there. Okay, everything's down solid. Now, since I know that I'm going to be putting pressure on this, I'm going to put 2 screws in the back as well. Oh, wrong thing. I'm going to put 2 screws in from the back into the front. Because like I said, this is pine. It has its own problems about splitting and stuff. Okay, no screws have come through. I feel a little bit there, but nothing. Now, there's what I've got. The pin will sit right like that. Now I need a handle. There is very little in my shop that I throw away. All these little scrap pieces, this whole setup that I'm making right now is made from little scrap pieces. There is a scrap piece of 2x4 that I think is going to be right on point for doing this. So let's get that, get it over here. I've got my piece of plywood, piece of 2x4 for a handle. But what I want to do is I want to make sure that that handle goes on at right angles to the pusher. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and mark keep losing my stuff. I'm going to take and mark where 90 degrees is, and I want the handle to kind of be in the center of in the center here where the pins are so that the push is straight on. So I'm going to mark it like that. That'll be the outer edge. Boy, that sure don't look straight. But it's just an optical illusion because I just didn't put my screws in straight, okay? So don't think that it's wrong. So now I want to go ahead and I'm going to drill a hole in this because I do not want my screw coming all the way down into this. I want to make sure that I don't do that, and in looking at that, it looks like I am right there. So I don't want to hit the thing, so my handles will have to both be up here like that. So if I set my handle down here all the way, then, and I'm going to make it go almost to the end, then my hole needs to be here and there. That way I don't have to worry about where it's going in. So let me drill these 2 holes. while I was sitting here thinking, while I was drilling those, I thought that maybe I should put it in to where this flat side is on the wood instead of this with the smoother side. It might be easier for me to hold it if I do it that way. Of course, I'll have to sand this a little bit to make it easier on the hands, but I just want proof of concept first. Let's see, I've got drywall screws, 2.5 inches. That's what I'm going to put this on with. Now I know they're not rust resistant, rust proof. Does that go through far enough? Well, it's going to be that way. Get in there. Oh yeah, that goes through plenty far to hold this on. So, okay, it needs to go on that way. And we'll put it on this side. That looks like it's about 90 degrees. Okay, that one's in solid. You notice they're a little offset. They're not in the same line. Alright. There's my pin setter. The pin goes in like this. Then you can push it in the ground, and after you push it in the ground, then you just move it to the side and pick up. And then you step it in the rest of the way. So let's go out here and see how it works. Okay, I've got my pin setter, and here's a pin. I brought a pin with me, and I put that in, and I take and put it in the ground. Let me point you down here where you can see. Okay, and I push the pin in. And there it is in, and then I can step it in the rest of the way with my foot. That is going to work great. So, no bending over, none of that, and I'll be able to set all these pins without bending and breaking my back. And I can use this as something where I can bend over. Maybe not. Oh. Ah. Got it. Okay, that's it. My pin setter works. I'm way satisfied with it. When that pin sets in here, it won't come out no matter what, no matter how much shaking I do. So it's going to sit right there, and I'll be able to use this for years and years and years. I'll just make me a hole here and put a leather strap on it where I can hang it, or just a zip tie. And then I'm going to sand this down to where these edges aren't so rough and they're not splinters. But you don't need to watch me sanding nothing. That's what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to sand it so that it fits my hand a little better. And it's just perfect for putting them in. And you don't have to push so hard either. You don't have to push hard. That's going to save my back getting down on the ground with a hammer and driving these in. So, now, if you like this stuff, this homesteading, do-it-yourself kind of thing, be certain to come on out to the channel and subscribe. We do this homesteading stuff every week. Sometimes 1, sometimes 5 videos. Now, I upload videos just as often as I can, mainly on Sunday. So, if you come to the channel, be certain to hit the little bell. It'll remind you when we get a new video up. Now, it's time for me to get on to the next thing.